Hey, Gavax here. So, there's been a lot of talk this year about the power-up system, what needs to change, what it is, what's going on with it. And they've tried power-ups for a few years now, and they haven't exactly perfected it, in my opinion. And I don't really think it's that good because, like, the benefits to it is it allows old cards to become more expensive when the new cards come out, and because a lot of people will want them. So investors, it helps a little bit. The bonuses to it, you get +1, you get to customize the card art. I can show you the inside of this stuff right now, and that's cool. But there is nothing on power-ups right now that is any different than what we can do on a base card. There is nothing on these power-ups that provide value. They provide value, obviously, to the training market, but training is kind of just like, it's an alternate currency. It's fine. It's whatever. It's given value by these power-ups. It's given value because the abilities that we put on it, and like that value can still be there even with the abilities and whatnot, just driving it by itself, right? There can be other things that we can use training on, rerolls, for example, that has a lot of value into it right now. So, power-ups. Why do we need power-ups right now? It's because of the sprinter. It's because of the card art. It's for out of position. It's for changing their theme team. Like, he obviously only gets Green Bay because Rodgers only been on that squad. But a lot of players get multiple teams. But, like, we've seen on veterans that they can have this, changing the team on base cards. They've instituted that on base cards. Physical chems, I believe physical chems should just go away next year. I don't think they add anything to the game. You basically have to have them. There's a little bit of choice between sprinter, brawler, shakers, fool's gold. But I honestly don't think they add anything. Get you a couple more speed and bring endgame cards even sooner. Physical chems, they don't add as much depth as I'd like them to because it's really only one or two choices based off how much speed extra you could get, because that's really the most valuable stat from any of the skill positions. So, power-ups. What to do next year? The easiest thing to do is just to get rid of them. Scrap them. Really, they don't add that much depth to the game that we can't get through other means. But, if we want to maximize power-ups, if we're saying, hey, let's do it, let's continue with it, here are the things that we can do to give them more depth, to give them more replayability, give them more worth and purpose, right? This power-up should be something that you use through the year. Now, players that don't get maybe a new card during a season or two, you're already doing reduxes for cards that got limited time cards. How about, instead of charging us an absurd amount of coins to bring these things up level to level, let me see if I can't find one, right? If I downgrade a card or power it up, do you know how it costs like me 13,000 training to go from his last level to his new level? That is wasted training for no purpose whatsoever. Like, the only purpose there is maybe potentially salary cap, but I don't think that's enough of a purpose to justify the training cost between cards. So let me go to a power up, for example. What they can do, and I think I said this last year too, is that when a card doesn't get a new card, so when a player doesn't get a new card in a certain series or two series, then instead of doing anything, oh, I hit the wrong button. Instead of doing anything for giving him a new card, just give him a new power-up number, right? Just give him up to the next level that his card could go to. So, like, take your 77, and if he doesn't get a new card, bring it all the way up, and say his top card's a 92 or something, 96, say it goes to the next series, give him, like, the next level, like a 97, and we can upgrade it there. So that way there's actual worth to this 6,260 training point power-up, right? If he doesn't get this 96 card, give this for a different season. All right, that's one way of making these power-up cards relevant and valuable, because you know this card's going to get upgraded to that level even without getting a new card through a new series. That is one possible suggestion. They need to add more customization to these power-ups, straight up, flat out, straight down. They did a good job this year with card art, like we just looked. They just added that this year, near the end of the year. Great job. Keep up more customization. Now, other things that they could customize could be things like the numbers on the card. Like, for example, let's look at, I don't know, Randy Moss is the first one off the top of my head. He had a couple different numbers. He's had a couple different numbers in-game. Let me see if I can't find his power-up right now. I guess I could just sort by wide receivers, but I feel like I should be able to find it. It should be here soon. Moss. I probably looked past you, didn't I? Wide receivers. Easy enough. Moss had a couple numbers in game. Allow us, depending on what team he played on, between Vikings, Patriots, Titans, allow him to switch numbers. Allow something in here to change that. Now, that's obviously something he can do on his original team too, since we get the theme team stuff too. The front art changes. More customization. Allow us to change the look of the player also on the field. Like, say if a guy had dreads at some point, went short hair at some point, allow us to customize the look of him based off how he played on the field. Like we saw, Pat Tillman just got longer hair later in the game. Allow us to go multiple ways with our cards, give them our own haircuts based off what haircuts they had in real life. Now, obviously, it's not going to go down to something like Grand Theft Auto where you give like your own customized haircut to your players. There isn't like a creative player or anything like that, and I don't want a creative player in MUD as I think that is. But allow us to, like, Odell and his tattoos, allow us to activate those or not. Players with different items on their hands. Allow us to swap out gloves, armbands, shoes. I think into that, there should be even more customizations. You know how Escape from Tarkov has that great gun customization? You can tinker everything around on a certain gun. Allow us, in-game, to tinker with maybe certain pads to add certain stat boosts. Add more of that customization. Like, all right, now we're going to go with thinner shoulder pads to give them a little bit better acceleration, to give them a little better agility, or go with larger to give them better break tackle or something like that. So allow the customization of pieces on the player to have more impact on the field. So more customization that way would help drive us into the deep in depth of the power-up. And with that customization, you could do stuff where maybe if you run with the same guy all year, his stats that you've gotten through online head-to-head play can add to his stat boosts on the card. Say you've passed for 3,000 yards with Aaron Rodgers. Either give us a resource pool like franchise, and we can kind of choose what overall to increase on that power, give him like +1 throw power. Obviously, there has to be like a limit on it, right? You can't just keep, grinding out more head-to-head yardage over and over and keep getting stats. Obviously, there should be some sort of cap there, but allow us to kind of customize the player that way. So when they get a new upgrade on the power-up, his stats on his card will stay the same from that head-to-head. So, like, you'll still get the bonus. So it'll be more customized to your experience personally with that card. So he'll play better than, like, another player that just bought him, just is freshly using him. So that way it allows kind of like a continuing story of your team going forward. And then you can look at how many stats he's got. And that's kind of, I really want stats in MUT too. That kind of has to go hand in hand. So that would really help to continue kind of like our depth and our love of the card by seeing, hey, maybe I've thrown 2,000 yards to T.O. this year. I've thrown him 100 passes. He's caught, 80 of them. That doesn't really add up for the math. But allow us to have stats. Allow us to see his stats. Like, that's something that should track the stats year to year, maybe on the card somewhere, or maybe a separate stat page too. But allow us to kind of use that to customize him, to give him better catching and that stuff over his base. Like, obviously the power will still give +1, but the stats that you've accumulated that have bonused over it, you'll see there on his card too. So make him even more nice. So maybe they could add skill trees on this thing, like World of Warcraft we talked about in the past. They could add skill trees, so that way abilities. We kind of have that with archetypes, but like you can branch through a certain skill type. So that way, like, I don't know, adds a little bit more depth. But I don't know if that'll add the kind of depth that we want, or just kind of being unnecessarily restrictive with abilities because of how powerful those are. We might want to keep abilities like flexible, but skill trees and stuff, not a bad idea to look forward to. Going, just kind of like mock it out, see how it is, kind of bounce that back and forth. You can do that also with like that upgrading stat kind of stuff. Like franchise has their own specific archetypes that they, give boost through. So maybe skill trees can tie into that. You could add stuff onto these power-ups. So like a running back, for example, on a power-up here. So talking about with the customizable uniforms, you could also add things onto that, just like, flak jackets to break tackles. You could add ±10 pounds. I like to add, like, hey, put rocks in his shoes, or put, I don't know, some sort of padding around him, extra weight on, to kind of customize him a little bit. See if you want to run with a little heavier, a little lighter. You could go with him too. You obviously don't make it extreme. You can't make like a 190-pound LeGarrette Blount, but you should be able to go like 240-pound Blount, 260-pound Blount. See how they run a little different between those kind of weights. So that way, like, maybe if you add a little extra weight on him, it decreases agility, speed a little bit, but obviously it increases a little bit of break tackle, increases momentum forward, because that just, bigger halfbacks go that. Maybe you can say, hey, longer cleats versus shorter cleats, add maybe an inch of height onto a guy, something like that. Maybe some Dr. Scholl's in there, or flats. to make them go a little shorter in case you want a running back that can kind of like get small through the hole. But generally short doesn't really help that much in this game, so there has to be some sort of like bonus to losing an inch on you to go in flats, maybe more agile or acceleration. So there's a lot of things that you can add to add more depth to this game through the power-up system, through these cards, and truly, like, I think the best solution is that stat thing to give us extra boosts based off having the power-up card all year on your squad, kind of like how we did, the track Mutt Master stats this year to give him the upgrades to him, and that's not exactly what I want through the Mutt Master way, but I hope you guys understand what I was saying with giving him extra +1s and stuff off of his power-up card here, but let me know what you guys think. What do you think about the upgrades next year, or power-ups, or how you want to do things? I think I got a couple other things here. Obviously, chemistry should go more in depth on them, but that's kind of for a different video. Chemistries would be the same thing on base cards as it would on power-ups. So like going college chems would be the same thing. And that wouldn't be really tying to just specifically power-ups. That might be a different video going forward for chemistries. But that's kind of stuff I want to see. More customization, more stuff like this front art, more stuff that actually adds depth in stuff, like I said, with Escape from Tarkov and how customizable those things are. I kind of want it on our cards, too, to kind of make them feel more like your own. But that's it for this video. Thanks for watching Call to Action. I'll see you tomorrow.